here.
You want to come up on stage with me?
Okay. Hey, I didn't get you. He doesn't have his uniform on.
Hi. Hey, hi.
Hello.
So, Mr. Ratzenberger flew in last night on the red eye, and he had a world premiere of the latest Pixar movie.
It's in here.
Which one was it? Which one is it?
Had a t-shirt.
It's called Onward. It'll open next week. So they had the red carpet event night before last. So I took my daughter, her husband, my granddaughter, and my son-in-law's parents. And it's really good. You're really gonna like it. I'm sorry I was late because they kept giving me coffees for the last hour, so I had to put them somewhere. So their fault.
Hey, Tanya,
I can't take credit for that.
give me the hookup so we don't have to switch.
All right, so you grew up in Connecticut. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your childhood that people might not know?
Let's see. Things you might not know. I can't tell you that. My first time in handcuffs, things like that. Well, I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, a factory town. Anybody familiar with that part of the world? So, what's that? He lived in Ansonia and Derby. So you've been to Bridgeport and had things stolen from you. Yeah, that was the vicinity of Bridgeport. If you're born in Bridgeport, you have larceny in your soul. So that's where I grew up, and that's true. So don't leave your watches of Wallace laying around. Anyway, that's where I grew up, and right on the harbor. So boats in the sea has always been part of my life. I had a rowboat before I had a bicycle. I worked as a deckhand on a fishing boat for a long time. And anyway, after college, where I majored in English, I, of all things, became a journeyman carpenter. Both my grandfathers were carpenters. And so I built houses all over New England, and part of that journey I ended up helping build the stage at Woodstock. So everything that's going wrong in the world is my fault. If I had known the mess that they were going to cause, I would have made that stage collapse. But no, a lot of adventures, and it was a great place to grow up because it was before helicopter parents, and where instead of them looking over your shoulder for everything, you actually got to live your own life as a young person. They'd say, "Go on, get out of here. Be home before the streetlights are on." And so you went out and you climbed trees, you rode your bicycle, you fixed things, you invented things. And we didn't realize it at the time, but we were actually problem solving, that's the catchword now for raising kids. Teach them how to be problem solvers. Well, that's what we did back then, but it's because there was no interference from the parents. So as grandparents, that's what I like to try to do, is give my grandkids the same opportunity that I had. In other words, big backyard and I'll stay out of the way. Go climb a tree, and you're probably going to fall out of the tree eventually. Well, a visit to the emergency hospital is not a bad thing, and you get people to sign your cast. But that was just part of it. That was just part of the deal. But now parents are so worried that I have a foundation. What we're trying to do is reinstate shop classes back in school, because basically we've got generations of idiots who can't tie their own shoes. They're good on computers, but you ask them to drive a nail or read a ruler, they can't do it, which is going to affect our infrastructure. So, and I'm on the President's task force for apprenticeship expansion. Now, if someone doesn't stop me, I'll go on for a couple of hours here.
I was gonna can you guys hear me on this one? Okay, good. All right, we don't have to share anymore. Yes.
I don't want to embarrass you,
So, and I forgot to tell you guys this. I know if you read the story on Monday, you know that Mr. Ratzenberger can frame a house, and then you can build your kitchen cabinets and your bathroom cabinets, in addition to acting and directing and writing and inventing, and he can also play the drums.
I play the drums in a bagpipe band for the Los Angeles Police Department, and I've been a deputy sheriff now 22 years. And so every year I go to Police Week in Washington, D.C., and all the bagpipe bands of all the police departments gather there. And that's a lot of fun because when the neighbors lean out the windows at 2 in the morning because we're playing the bagpipes and drums out in the street, they always yell, "We're going to call the cops." And then we would look up and say, "We are the cops." Nothing you can do about it, pal. But yeah, I do all that. When I was 14, I decided I want to learn how to build a house and everything in it. And I did. And it's not, just wanting to do it, doing it. I was an apprentice carpenter for a while, and a lot of tales there, but then I became a journeyman. And I've got all kinds of tools. Even with my grandkids, I give them jobs to do by building something and make them think that that was an important part of the structure. And because that's how you get self-esteem. That nowadays you get a trophy, and it says, for coming in 11th place, they're giving you a trophy, which is nonsense. The only way you get self-esteem is to make something, to cause something to happen with your own hand. Now that's self-esteem. But you don't get it with a trophy. So that's the other thing I try to change as a grandparent. I think that's very important.
You might be preaching to the choir here.
Oh, is there a choir?
Okay, and they're all going to sing.
Going to sing?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
So how did you transition from being a carpenter into acting?
Well, all the good-looking girls were in the acting thing. And I was a carpenter, and there you go. Enough said. No, I was in London, and I was just there to visit for a week, and ended up staying 10 years. But I was in a theater, long story, but they needed someone to redo the lobby, new countertops, and this and that. So I said, well, sure, I can do that. And I gave them a good price. And so they hired me. They said, okay, go ahead and do it. So I did it. But while I was doing it, I was watching these theater groups rehearse. And boy, they were terrible. And I said to the guy who ran the theater, I said, these people get paid for this? He said, oh yeah, they tour Europe and they get paid to tour Europe. I said, oh boy. I said, I can do better with a sock puppet. And that's how I started.
And then you wound up in a lot of major motion pictures that were being made in Great Britain, including Superman. And you all might have heard of this one, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, The Empire Strikes Back, and Gandhi, with Mr. Ben well served, famously now, isn't he?
Yeah, I used to, when they offered me a movie, because I was part of a handful of people that lived in London, American actors, that, and during that time, the dollar was very strong against the English pound, so a lot of movies were made over there. A Bridge Too Far against Valentino, Gandhi, Superman 1 and 2, yeah. So I did almost 30 films there. And, but because I was in the right place, right time, I was actually in one of my first movies called Ragtime, and that was James Cagney's last movie. So I can actually say I worked with James Cagney, which was a big treat, obviously, growing up. Now, when I speak at colleges or universities, they don't know who James Cagney was. And that's frightening. There you got acting students, don't know who James Cagney was. Cary Grant, they never heard of Cary Grant. So I tell them, I said, if you want to be famous, don't be an actor. Because you're only well known until the last person of your generation dies. You know, then I said, if you want to be really famous, invent something. Like Benjamin Franklin, he's always going to be Leonardo da Vinci. We go, Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison. So those you're famous forever. But as an actor, ask your grandchildren or younger people about Mickey Rooney. I have no idea. Doesn't exist. So anyway, that's the one humbling thing I learned as an actor. Don't think you're famous.
Well, and speaking of don't think you're famous, you were famous in Great Britain and in Europe, but then you went to Hollywood and auditioned for a TV show. What happened?
Oh, I got the part. No, actually there was no part of Cliff. I went in and I said, do you have a bar know-it-all? And they said, well, what are you talking about? And I improvised my version of what that is. And I just made them laugh enough so I could get out there with my dignity. But they went for it, so I got hired, and 11 years later I was still there. And the uniform, by the way. Thank you. Now, are you filming this for MGM or? What's going to happen to this film?
Just for my personal consumption.
For your personal, so you're going to watch this over and over again?
Yeah.
Well, somebody get this guy a life, will you? Do you drink a lot? Okay. So, anyway, my uniform is in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
You didn't like that.
So, if you're in the area, people
like
know
that,
when you want to see Cliff Clayton's uniform, go to the Smithsonian. It's with Archie Bucky's chair that bonds his jacket.
Can you maybe tell us a backstage story about Cheers? Maybe something funny? I bet you guys pulled pranks on each other. No?
No, I certainly can, but a lot of it I have to have releases signed by other people. Well, it's actually George White and I, one of the immature tricks, saran wrap over the toilet seat, the whole part, then you put that second seat down. Boy, the girls didn't like that. When they go into their ladies' room, and then you can count 1, 2, and then the screams. I mean, it was window shattering stuff, but it was funnier than that. Oh, we'd laugh. But stuff, well, sure we do stuff like that.
Tell us how you got involved with Pixar.
Pixar was just, I do the voice of, I've been in every Pixar movie for the last 26 years. And the first one was Hammy the Pig in Toy Story. Here, Hammy the Pig. Hey, it's Mr. Evil Duck that points out to you. But it was just simply a phone call. They called, I said yes, and that was it. I wish there was a bigger story. I'd save orphans from a burning school bus or something. But no, John Lasseter, who started Pixar, and asked me to be the voice of the pig.
And his involvement with Pixar and Gandhi and Star Wars makes him the 6th top-grossing actor in Hollywood.
Well, as far as box office receipts,
Yes.
right, yeah, yes. Yeah, I'm number 6 of all time. Box office receipts. Wish I could get those box office receipts.
That wasn't in your contract.
I wish.
5% of the gross. So your agent told me an amusing story. Well, Diane. So, you got tired of your kids watching TV when they were little. Tell us what you did. And this
Well,
is a tip for grandparents.
Yeah, it's a good thing you can do as grandparents, because I know a lot of you are handy. You have your own toolboxes, you know what tin snips are, you know, channel locks, you know the difference. And anyway, I got tired of being the bad guy when it came to TV watching. Always coming home and saying, "What are you doing? How long are you doing? What are you watching here?" And just turn it off. And so I just didn't want to be the bad guy. Who wants to be the bad guy? So I went to a Radio Shack and I got an interrupter switch, a little switch that I spliced into the cable coming into the house underneath the rain gutter. And so I just spliced it in there, and then I would just throw the switch. It would kill all the cable coming into the house. And so I'd sit at the kitchen table reading a newspaper or whatever, and one of my kids would go, "Dad, something's wrong with the TV. TV doesn't work." And so I would go into this performance, I'd get my toolbox, I'd go behind the TV, set up a chair, and I would just click the tools together like I was actually doing something. And I'd say, "Now, anything now?" No, it's still all fuzzy, there's no... Okay, so after a while I said, "All right, I'll call that guy." So the next day, "Did you call the guy?" "Yeah, he's coming Thursday." So Thursday rolls around. "Did the guy come?" "Yeah, but they need another part. It's got to come from Chicago. I think it's the kerfuffle valve." I make up names for parts. And but there's a snowstorm in Chicago. Anyway, long story short, sometimes we go 3 weeks without TV. Well, they would go 3 weeks without TV. As soon as they're in bed, I'm watching the news, party fight, whatever. But and they never knew. And growing up, they never knew. And so I wrote this. I wrote about this in my book. And my daughter read the book, and it says in the book, my kids won't know about this until they read this book. And I get a call from my daughter. She was away at college. She said, "Dad, you sticker." I said, "What, honey?" So she explained to me like she had no idea. And I said, "You know what? But you're going to be doing the exact same thing to your kids." And she admitted she would.
Now, what did you do when the TV was out?
Well, that's why God invented board games. You've got checkers, you got chess, you got puzzles, you got crayons. You can go outside and do things. You can talk, you can chat, you can tell jokes, learn simple magic tricks, and just goof around, play with the dog. But it's amazing all the things that happen. And then I noticed that my kids got along better with each other. Once the TV was out of the way, and I could blame it on the guy from Chicago. Not my fault. Hey, I have no idea. So I wasn't the bad guy anymore. But I was taken by how well my children. Thank you. How well my children got along with each other. So try it.
Okay, it's time to take some questions from the audience, so I'm going to come down
The
there.
polka dancers coming up.
Yes, they are.
We're going to have polka dancing now, apparently.
Would you like to ask a question?
What's more difficult for you, voice acting or acting in front of the camera?
Say it again.
That was, what's more difficult for you, voice acting or acting in front of the camera?
There's nothing difficult in show business. I'm blessed to be able to make a living at what I do, and I don't care whether it's acting, directing, doing voiceovers, being on radio, because it's the path that I chose. But I don't, it's not, you know, a hard job is, to me anyway, like loading cement bags on railroad cars, which is a job I once had, you know, in the middle of August, and you get the cement dust stuck in your throat. That's hard work. Acting is not hard work. You show up, you're with interesting people, you're enjoying yourself, and so you gotta memorize some lines, so what? But I have the advantage of being an altar boy and having a Catholic school education, and that's all they have you do is memorize things. Oh, you memorize the Ten Commandments, and all that, a lot of stuff in that. Convenient anybody to finish that? No. Shushimi Adana Sacrificium? No? Okay. Not a lot of Catholics obviously down in this group. But, so the memorizing has never been difficult for me because as a youngster, and also when they keep you after school, and I was privileged enough to be kept after school a lot. In high school, they made you memorize poems. Paul Revere's Ride, Charge of the Light Brigade, Casey at the back, before they let you go home. And so I was, a lot of times, walking home at 9:30 at night, you know, with the crickets and the fireflies. You know, everybody else was already in bed asleep, but I was, you know, dragging my keys home. But there's also back then, the parents supported the teachers. If the teacher says you're a knucklehead, well, the parents say, okay, you're a knucklehead. But consequently, I memorized so many things that when it came to acting, I'd never have a problem with.
John, we're going to take one more question before you start signing pictures.
I guess I'm talking too much.
Do you still maintain a relationship with any of the cast members from Cheers?
Yeah, we meet over at Ted's house every second Thursday and play. What's that game where you cross over each other?
Twister.
Twister, yeah, we play Twister. So obviously that's a wise going to answer. Yes and no. I mean, I got a call from George recently, and I saw Ted not that long ago. Kirsty, I've seen Kirsty. But it's like anything else. It's like being a job, and then that job ends, and everybody goes off, you know, different parts of the country and whatnot.
I think that wraps things up, and well, actually, I'm supposed to say one other thing. It's on my script.
You all look like you live in Florida. All look healthy.
It's the official uniform of Florida.
What's that?
Shorts and a t-shirt and a
I
tan.
was going to wear shorts today and sandals, but
Okay, Mr. Ratzenberger is going to be making his way down to the Simply Healthcare.
Right off to the right here.
Which is going to take you, and he has some photographs to sign, and we'll be happy to meet and chat with everybody. And up next on the stage is Chair Yoga.
Kind of question.
Oh,
Who was it, brothers or sisters that talked to you?
I heard brothers and sisters, that's all I heard.
In the Catholic school? The Catholic school.
Oh, sisters, the Daughters of Charity, the Flying Nuns. Yeah, and I actually saw one of them knock a friend of mine out. And he deserved it. But she came around a corner, he was up to no good, and she's a tiny little thing, but she bent down like this, like the punch that came from her heels, and just lifted him up off the floor and knocked him out over a desk. And he deserved it. I mean, and to this day, I mean, I still we're very close, but even Missy deserved it.
Yeah, I had one hold me over the balcony.
You had one go over the balcony,
Hold me over the balcony.
held you over the balcony, and you probably deserved it.
No, I just told her I wish I had my pistola, and she thought I had a gun or something.
Did you have a gun?
We was all mixed blacks, Mexicans, blacks, whites, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so you needed to carry a gun.
I was only in the 6th grade.
Yeah, well, most 6th graders carry guns. In Bridgeport,
I don't know, this is Polk County.
we're required in 6th grade to have a weapon.
All right, I'm gonna take your.
That's it? What happened, Joe?
Everybody, John Ratzenberger.
Thank you.
Okay, so you got 2 years for your topic. Keep it on, just 2 years.
All right, John. We're gonna walk right back to
Well, I did say chair yoga is up next by Satya Yoga.
Bingo is going on at 10:30 as well. When you stand in line for John, it's very important. You gotta have a ticket for the 10:30 ticket. I know they've all been depleted, but there's another one at 1 o'clock. So if you don't have a ticket, there's another one at 1 because he only has so much time. All right? Thank you.
Yes, this is the end of the so
After you, sir. It's at the end, sir.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's gonna be down there?
Yes, sir.